Hello. Now we will continue with the reverse pitching, which means corporates are pitching to startups, telling you how digitalization is affecting their operations and how you can help them to stay in the game. And we start with Scott and Andreas from Ford. Welcome.
Thank you. Right. So, good morning, good afternoon. I love this reverse pitching because it's a time for us to feel like we got to actually think about what we want to talk about from a corporate perspective. So I wanted to give you guys an understanding, because I'm assuming that a lot of you are not familiar with what's actually happening within the automotive space. So my role within Ford is actually working with startups, working with companies that we actually want to potentially work with in different ways. So if you can imagine a company like Ford working with small companies is somewhat unique for us. There is a huge opportunity within the connected space. So if you think about the fact that drivers are actually using their smartphones in the vehicle a hell of a lot more than they were, let's say, 30 years ago, because there were no smartphones. So we actually have to think differently about how we actually want customers to interact with applications. As you get in the car, the last thing you want to do is completely turn off your smartphone. And we understand that. So there we go. So we take a little bit of Henry Ford's vision. And I like to always put this up as a slide because it's something that I think really resonates today as well as it did when this came out as an advertisement probably in the 1920s. And Henry Ford basically thought that he wanted to put a car and offer a car to everyone, literally cars on the road for everybody. Of course, today that's a challenge because we don't want to sit in global gridlock. But it is a vision that we have in terms of making our technology, in a way, democratizing our technology. So thinking about how do we actually allow people who buy a mid-sized, let's say not too expensive vehicle, how do we actually allow them to interact with their applications and services that you would normally buy on a €70,000 or $70,000 vehicle? We got to think about those things. So we announced, I think this was really fresh, it was maybe 2 months ago, we announced that this was our statement originally. People working together as a lean company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what changed for us was and mobility. So we've decided that not only are we going to obviously make cars, which of course is our core business, but we now actually want to sell services. Mobility for us is absolutely critical. Of course, the entire industry is being disrupted, but disrupted in a really positive way. So we're embracing it. We actually have announced a new division called Ford Smart Mobility LLC. We'll make investments, we'll do a whole range of different things, but we're trying to really change the way we do business and how we engage and offer services to customers. So this is this slide always, this fact always surprises people. The fact that there are more lines of code in a vehicle than there are in a Boeing 787. And I think that and it's true, of course, because McKinsey says it. So Alan Mulally, who is our old CEO, came from Boeing. So, of course, this is true. But it just shows you how complex the vehicle is in terms of what goes into making a vehicle is simply extremely complex with lots and lots of architecture, et cetera. However, where we're going is this kind of connected experiences. So what is it that customers actually want? What do they actually want to, they're sitting in the car, how do they want to engage with different experiences? As I said before, the last thing you actually want to do is completely cut yourself off from your friends, your family, your entertainment, texting, whatever that may be doing. But unfortunately, it's just not safe. And so what we do is we've spent a lot of time thinking about and engaging with customers to understand what is it how do they actually want to engage? They want to press the button on their steering wheel to do voice control of their applications and services. Do they want to touch the screen on their touch screen? What are they actually looking for? Meaning, do they want another Spotify application? Do they want parking? Funnily enough, the top 5, based on statistics in terms of consumer research, the top 5 things are things that are specifically around parking, music, turn-by-turn navigation. Things like Facebook and interacting with your social networks are all the way at the bottom. Now, I always get asked by our marketing teams, hey, where's Facebook? Can we have Facebook in the car? And funnily enough, of course, it doesn't seem as though customers really want that. They actually want services that actually are beneficial to them while they're driving. And perhaps posting that you're driving down the 101 in California is probably not the ideal scenario. So in terms of what the vehicle is actually doing, so this is something that's quite interesting in terms of, from a developer perspective, there is an enormous amount of data available that developers can tap into. So part of our, and Andreas will talk about this in a minute, is one of the solutions that we have actually allows developers to tap into vehicle data through our APIs. But the vehicle itself is generating an enormous amount of data. What do we do with all that information? And how do we actually make it beneficial to deliver really interesting services to our customers? So Ford have 3 different connectivity, let's say, solutions that we offer at the moment. Built-in, brought-in, and beamed-in, right? So the kind of built-in side of things is what you would expect. It's kind of embedded modem, meaning the car itself is actually connected. You can deliver services directly into the vehicle. It has its own connection. Brought-in, which is the area that I focus on, which is what we call AppLink, allows you to connect your smartphone to the vehicle and to be able to control certain applications that are enabled to work with our system by voice control and certainly by touch. Beamed in is what we, I guess if you live in the US, you would think Sirius XM, right? That's beamed in. So literally it's hitting the vehicle, we're pulling in data from the cloud, etc. So we basically are very focused on delivering 3 different solutions because we think that those 3 different solutions offer different types of connectivity for the driver. But it does present an opportunity for developers that are developing entertainment applications, for example, like Spotify, or mobility solutions that may take advantage of these connectivity mechanisms to deliver that into the vehicle. So let me pass you over to my esteemed colleague, Andreas, to talk a bit more about that.
All right. So let's focus a little bit on the broad-in solution, on what we call AppLink. And AppLink is our connectivity solution that allows customers to bring their phone in the car, connected, and control, launch, and view certain apps which reside on the smartphone from within the car in a safe environment. So the user does not have to control the apps on his phone while he's driving, and he can keep the hands on the wheel, eyes on the road, and for example, control his whole music experience through, to stick to that example, Spotify, through voice or via touch on our touch display. So you probably all heard about the term wearables and all the smartwatches everyone's wearing right now, and we thought we like that kind of slang and we stick to it, and we said we make drivables. We build drivables. We want to allow app developers to tap into that ecosystem of the car and leverage vehicle data and different kinds of data the vehicle produces and let the customer control their app from within a safe environment. So for us to be able to make it drivable and create drivables, we launched a Ford Developer Program, which is available publicly online, and people can get all the information for that, and we help them make their app drivable. So usually within those big companies, as Ford is a big automotive OEM, we have some processes which are slower than in startups, we know that, and usually smaller startups in its early stages, they usually don't see any benefit from interacting with, in that case, us, Ford. But we do love startups with that program because we want to engage with you, we're going to reach out to you, and we want to work together with you and enabling your smartphone applications in the car. So we have, that's not future talk, we have already launched more than 100 apps globally, and we do that on a case-to-case basis, and we have direct outreach to developers. We go, we talk to you, we engage with you, we offer you mentoring, we go A to Z with you, we teach you what to do in the car, what use cases of your app are applicable within the car and which are not, and how you embed our library into your app so that every single AppLink enabled car can launch your app and users can control your app from within the car. because we are talking about an app and not an embedded solution, which would be the built-in solution Scott already talked about, is we de-risk, the risk is lowered, the barrier is lowered because we have not built in your solution to our car, which would mean that the whole car line would have your embedded software solution for the next couple of years, but we brought it in through the phones, through the smartphone, updated via the usual app store, as we all know, and so we can keep the risk at a minimum. To give you an example, we had a hackathon event in Dublin last year, and we invited several startups, and several startups registered for that hackathon. It was a 24-hour hackathon, and we had one particular app which I wanted to talk to you about, and that was My Boxman. My Boxman won second place at our hackathon event in Dublin. And that app actually launched with Ford. We announced it this year that it's launched. We helped this developer who brought that idea to our 24-hour hackathon. He started at the hack with that app. We helped him through the 24 hours, and then we helped him to deliver the whole experience from within the car. And now with that app, you can, for example, rent out your vacant trunk and take some packages from personal or private customers to the destination they want to. We obviously know that the AppLink solution is not the only one out there. We know from our friends from Silicon Valley that there is the Google and the Apple, and we decided to give customers a choice. We support all platforms, but we thought that we want to make a platform that we can control, and we know what is applicable in a car, what is suitable for in-car usage. We wanted to keep the face of our brand, our customer brand, and that's why we decided to open source the whole AppLink project. And the open source variant, we call it Smart Device Link. And Smart Device Link is publicly open source available in the internet today. And some of you may already heard, Toyota has already committed in adopting that standard, and which means if they, or once they implement that standard into their infotainment system, all the apps which are currently available in Ford cars would also work in Toyota's cars. We have several other OEMs, as you can see, already investigating in that technology. That is connectivity, but there's also mobility, and we announced that we switched from an only auto manufacturer to also a mobility company. That's why we already launched more than 25 global mobility experience throughout the world. To give you a quick example, one would be a dynamic shuttle scheme, which we launched in the US, which means you have an app as a customer, and you can request a pickup from a dynamic shuttle, and the route gets calculated on a dynamic basis depending on where the customers are and if there are any customers to get to their destination. Why do we do that? We want to sell more cars. That's right, Scott already talked about that. There are 1 billion vehicles on the road today, and we would love to sell 1 billion more, but we know that that would be a global gridlock, and so we need to switch not switch focus, but extend our view and also know that there are other solutions than just selling cars, which is why we are searching for new opportunities in the mobility space to help us achieve that goal and to actually avoid the global gridlock. So that's why we, for example, had a concept demonstrated last year at MWC, if I remember correctly, which would be an e-bike concept. So we have a Transit Connect, and in the trunk there is an e-bike which is charged by the Transit, and once you have, for example, a navigation running within the Transit, and you park it somewhere, and you do your last mile with your e-bike, you get the navigation you were running in the car, you had that, and the handlebars were vibrating wherever you had to go. So we are investigating in multimodal solutions too, and we are not wanting to go from A to B by car. We want to go from A to Z, and we want to help customers to achieve that goal. And so it's as I just said, it's not only we sell cars, we want customers in our cars, but we want also to go with the flow and be the mobility company we just announced. And that's why we not only search for the one train under the train, let's say the train station app, but also the whole network of solutions. And that's why we come to conferences and search for mobility and connectivity startups to work together with us. And for a wrap up, I'll hand over to Scott.
Right. So thank you, Andreas. So we actually will make an announcement today, but before I get to this, I think it's important to understand what the size of this opportunity is. It's, you know, right now if you're a developer and you're developing ideas, whether it be a new car sharing application or whether a new multimodal solution or anything along those lines that can help drivers share vehicles, can help drivers get from point A to point B, or if you simply have a new application that you think is really interesting to be used in vehicle. One of the kind of untapped solutions that's out there or spaces out there is actually car-only applications, meaning most of the applications that exist at the moment, that out of our 100 plus apps that we have, most of those are applications that people use outside of the vehicle, meaning that I'm using it while I'm walking down the street. What's untapped at the moment are actually applications that are really applicable 100% while you're driving. So someone who won an event, one of our challenges in China, she came up with an idea that was basically an assistant. She was concerned that she would fall asleep while she was driving throughout the night. And so she created an application that actually stuck with her, that literally checked in with her every 20 minutes or however long she wanted to do it. So again, there's just lots and lots of opportunity here, really at the beginning of what's possible within the automotive space. So today, we are, for the first time, kind of announcing the next phase of what we're doing from an AppLink perspective in terms of how we're working with developers. So we are announcing for the first time this mobility challenge. So it's using AppLink as the connectivity mechanism to literally connect your application or experience into the vehicle. We're going to actually have this event in Berlin on the 7th and 8th of September. And it's the first time that we're actually hosting something like this, certainly in Germany. But it's the first time that we're actually hosting an event very specific about mobility. So we launched the website today. You can actually pre-register and find out for more information. And in fact, I have, and these are the tracks that you can see. This is all online. We have different tracks that people can focus on. But we're partnering up with a couple of different folks. And in fact, today, the Axel Springer Plug and Play Accelerator from Berlin are here. Just invite them up on stage. So we've, as part of the prize package, in the past we've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars, cars, and frankly, when I was thinking about what do we want to do next, I didn't want to just give away cash or a car. Those are great things, but we actually want to show the developer community that that we want to help them productize and work with them. So this isn't just come to this event and thank you very much for the idea. This is actually come to the event, work with us, and we can help you productize that. So as part of our relationship with Axel Springer, Plug and Play, is that will be part of the prize package. So I'll let them talk a little bit about that.
Thank you very much, Scott. Thank you very much, Scott. Yeah, thank you very much, Scott. So let me quickly introduce ourselves. So we are from Axel Springer Plug and Play. Axel Springer Plug and Play is a Berlin-based acceleration program. Our shareholders are Axel Springer, a large German media corporation, and Plug and Play Tech Center from Silicon Valley. We run 3-month-long startup programs. We accelerate around 30 startups per year. So in each program, around 10 startups. We give every startup 25,000 euros and get 5% of their equity. And we are addressing any startup that is interested in the German market, because with the network we have there, especially about the corporate network, we can give every startup a foot in the door in the corporate world that is probably unique to our program.
In the last 3 years, we have invested into more than 75 digital startups from a wide range of verticals, one of them being mobility. And this is why we're really, really happy about this partnership with Ford and the AppLink Challenge now. because we think through that we can really provide a lot of value to digital startups in the mobility sector. And yeah, we as a prize, in fact, we're giving away a fast track into our accelerator program. And if you want to know more about that or about the program, we're happy to talk to you after the session. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. So, Axel Springer Plug and Play is one of our partners. We also have partnered up with Techstars, and then we're also going to be doing some other things. So all this stuff will be announced over the coming weeks, but we wanted to use this forum as our kind of first announcement point. So if you want more information, we'll be here today and tomorrow, or simply go to the website and check it out. Janina.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Scott. Now we have a bit time for questions. Do we have questions, somebody directed to Scott or Andreas? Maybe I have only one then, if somebody wants to ask. Can you get a bit more into detail? What does it mean for a startup or a developer to engage with you? I mean, there must come a lot of applications, and you're most probably also testing a lot of those ideas. How do you engage? How do you pick the most fruitful for yourself, and how can they stick with you, that they get also something out of that working with you?
Well, there's so many different aspects of Ford's business. You can imagine that I get approached by, somebody who wants to sell us a new process for our factories or something. Of course, that's interesting, but it's not so interesting from my perspective, right, in terms of what we're trying to achieve. So if a developer approaches us, and we do get approached by lots and lots of different ideas, the first thing that I want to understand is where is the developer in their phase of launch? Is it pre-launch? Is it launched? What markets are they covering, etc.? I've been approached by developers who are wanting to launch, like my Boxman, wanted to launch with Ford, and if we thought it was a good enough idea, then we would go ahead and start to work with them even before they launched. And so that is a really good example of a company that is true startup mode, and the fact that they were included in our press release and our marketing at MWC. If you can imagine what level of promotion and marketing and exposure they got just from that push that we gave them at MWC is pretty sizable. So we tend to use different announcement points to help our partners drive awareness in terms of what they do. But then ultimately, as Ford, we of course also promote the applications to our customers. Ultimately, if our customers don't know about what apps or services are available in their vehicles, shame on us. So, we do spend a lot of money on marketing, and so what we try to do is extend some of that to include a lot of the different startups and the partners that we have on the AppLink side.
Okay. Thank you. And when you want to watch the video we just had here, please go and look at reversepitching.com. We will going to publish this video later on, and you can refer to your friends or colleagues who may want to approach them as well. Thank you.
Thank you.